Hello, Annabes. You are so awesome. Thank you kindly for being here. Yeah, Fred had to ditch us, I think, although that was so long ago. Maybe he's back now. That was like a couple hours ago. As you might be able to tell, I don't know if you can tell or not, I got my whole studio moved over our whole room. So about a year ago, I had moved it from this room to the tiny room, and now I'm back into the very nice, large, spacious room. So I'm so happy about that. I'm not so happy about the cases that I'm covering. I could just bawl my head off. The Texas thing is unbelievable. So is the freaking government with this Epstein crap. So thank you for being here, my dear Anna Bees. And let's do our regular stuff. Let's see, let's drop stuff down on the floor. That's the regular stuff, right? So, how are you doing today? And yes, I do have my cursor. Thank you very much. I got to tell you real quick that yesterday, at one point in the afternoon, I noticed that one of my videos said video not available. And I thought, oh no, did somebody complain about me? And it was all of my videos, Anna Bees. They all became unavailable for like maybe half an hour that I knew of. And that even includes like the short that we did of our dog at Christmas a couple years ago. Every single one of my videos had the black screen that said video unavailable. And I was like, are they coming after me? Are they shutting my channel down? Because it certainly has felt that way. And it's not going to change how I do things. It's just not. You want a piece of me? Let's take it outside. Yes, Texas tragedy is awful. It's so flippin' disgusting. Oh my goodness, how weird. Yeah, it was nerve wracking. That has never happened to me. There was a point where Paula Plunder had her channel kiboshed because probably certain individuals had made complaints, maybe of some of the cases that she might have been working on, like in Colorado with um, Watts case and NK. She was the one who broke the story with that Nicole Kessinger 3 hour and 33-minute videotape interview with her Papa Bear right next to her. That was all Paula Plunder. But she had her whole channel dismantled, and all the videos that she had for years are gone. She had to rebuild her channel, and she did a fantastic job. So yeah, I let her know right away. She was like, WTF. I think it's because you were right on point about everything. Well, see, Anna Bees, that's the thing that's so like funny, not funny, is like just when I start to think, well, yeah, I'm just like a radical left lunatic, right? Just when I start thinking, well, maybe I'm not so good at this anyway. And then something like that happens, and I'm like, oh, so to me, that's kind of confirmation, like what you said. Oh, I watched Plunder over the Watts case. Yeah. I watched a lot of Plunder, especially with the Suzanne Morphew case. She's wonderful. She's a really nice person. And, she's one of my two mentors. Her and Watts the Obsession are who helped me get going with my channel. So I'm ever so grateful to both of them. Someone's listening. Annabes, they're not only listening, they are shadow banning me. Like, seriously. So, all they're doing for me is confirming that I'm on track. And, right now, my two biggest things, although there's a million to choose from, my two biggest things are the Texas tragedy and all the bull crap that went along with that, because it didn't have to be that bad. It did not have to be that bad. And then for these F-wads to say, well, it could have been a lot worse, is infuriating. It's infuriating. There was a flood in the city of San Antonio a month ago, and 10 people lost their lives. I did not know this. I just heard this last night. I was like, wait, what? Because San Antonio is not too far from where this happened on Guadalupe River. And, it's called Flash Flood Alley. They know they have a ton of kids come for summer camps. It's a thing. Like they've been well aware of it. It's not like it caught them off guard. It's like it's what Trumpster Fire said. Oh, nobody saw this coming. No, they did actually see it coming, sir. You disgusting piece of crap. Oh, he is just the worst. And yeah, I figure like they're coming after me because I say things like that. But we do live in America. And that was the only thing that really bothered me when my videos were all unplayable is I thought, my goodness, is this really our country? Like we know that it's leaning that direction and that it's going more that direction every day, but it is just heart wrenching, and really it just inspires me. It puts fire under my feet to get louder and to be more crass, basically, and call out this crap even more. There's a lot of channels that call out this crap way more than me, and they have like a million subscribers. So I kind of don't think they're that worried about little old me. Let me see about this puppy dog crying at the door. One sec. Come on, babies. In or out? In or out? You're going to stay out? Okay. That was so cute. That was like the little ragamuffin was out. Come here, sweetie. And the little Mookie girl was in, and then I opened the door and they switched. So crazy little mop head came in, and little sweet Mookie went out. So this girl is getting chubby again. I've been feeding her a couple too many bites, I guess. But also that's just like the growth, right? Us people do that too. You like fill out and then you shoot up, fill out, shoot up. Oh, she's so cute. So let's see. Oh, yes. Let me see what you're saying, Anna Bees. I heard ICE were going into a lot of Mary J farms in California. I heard this too, to kidnap immigrants or migrants. I wonder if it's around Truckee. Well, I don't know about Truckee. I did hear about Southern California, like Oxnard. Isn't she adorable? Little cheese ball, cheesy poof. She's hilarious. So, I used to think that she was looking like Zoe from the Muppets, the way her hair grows this really wild direction. I don't know if you can see it so well right now. It's like she looks a lot like a lemur, but she also looks like the Lorax, like she speaks for the trees. She is a love bug. I'm going to set her down because she's so wiggly. Okay, so I'm going to do all my stuff. I'm not going to forget to do my disclaimer. But as you know, Anna Bees, the other humongous thing that I want to keep talking about is the Epstein files. And there's so much crap coming out on that every freaking day. I love her well, I'm glad you love her too. Because, yeah, I mean, the puppy dogs, they help a lot with all this stress of the politics and the tragedies. And I try to keep it positive as much as I want to really focus on what is most important to me, which is some really negative crap. So everything I say is simply my opinion for the sake of hoping to start a conversation, open up a discussion, learn something, be educational. All my videos are made for YouTube. It's an infotainment platform. Oh, I was thinking I didn't know where I put my thumb in my move. But I have it right here. Please hit your like button, and maybe I'll put it where you can see it, right? I can put it there. Ooh, look at that. How nice. Please make sure you're still subscribed in the event that you are subscribed. And if you're not, why not? Beg of you, please. Share a video of mine with somebody that you think might like my channel. And turn on your notification bell to ring. Pets do help so much. At first, I thought you said Pete helps so much. And I'm like, yeah, Pete Buttigieg, he's good. He's a good guy. He does help a lot. If only he might have been our president, huh? I mean, he ran. He made a good run for it. not this last election cycle, but the one before, I think. Yeah. Oh no, I think Coco wants to get in on the action. One sec. Come here, baby. Coco. Hello. Okay, it's a dog party. It's official. The thing about Coco is she's been really like nerve-wracked with all the movement of stuff. Oh, but can you see her? Come here, baby. Look. Oh, you can see her finally. Finally. I don't even know what it is about the new setup that makes the camera point down more. It's so hard to figure out this stuff. Anyway, but at least you can see Coco. That's important. Muy importante. I was going to say the only problem with Coco is that she gets like right under the chair, and the chair has roller wheels on it. So I'm always worried about pinching her with it. It hasn't happened yet because I'm on a carpet, so they do sink in. But enough about all that. Let me do my little disclaimer. I see her such a cutie too. So she's 10. She's the one who just survived cancer. And yeah, she has not liked the moving of the stuff and the kids moving in and out, coming and going. Like she loves having the people around, and then she gets really sad when they leave. And they always leave. She's doing the empty nest syndrome thing with us, right? They do help a lot. So everything I say is simply my opinion for the sake of hoping to start a conversation, open up a discussion, learn something, be educational. All my videos are made for YouTube. It's an infotainment platform. I have so many notes, and I want to just get right into it. And you are absolutely on it, Annabise. Thank you kindly for being here. Going to highlight that one, and thank you for all your chat. It's awesome to have conversation, and it's still on top chat. So let me see if I put it on live chat, if it shows anything that I may have missed. So, yeah, where to begin? So that Epstein tape was edited. Did you hear that, Annabise? It was edited. I like saying edited because it's like sometimes you put an extra. Sometimes I put an extra did in it. Edited. It was edited. Yeah, it was. So that lie about the 60 seconds. See, I told you it was a lie because the only reason I thought it was a lie, because yeah, it's entirely possible that the system loses a minute at 11:59. In fact, Pam Bondi went on to go into such great detail that she said it happened at Y2K, that as of like 1999 switching over at midnight, yeah, ever since then we've lost a whole minute from 11:59 until midnight. But again, that doesn't mean that there was nothing nefarious happening. That would just mean that anybody that has that information would know that that's the time to strike, is at 11:59. That's when you do the dirty deed that you don't want any recording of. But no, these freaking idiots, do they not realize? I mean, I barely know a damn thing about a computer, right? I mean, it's a miracle. It is a miracle that I can operate my cell phone and my laptop. Before I had my YouTube, I never touched our laptops. The kids had them for school. We had one for me and my husband. The family members were always fighting over who got the laptop. I never touched them. Never. And I never Googled anything either, if you can believe that. But see, that's what I mean. My personality is like, once I do something, I do it. So, yeah. These freaks don't realize that there's computer programmer experts everywhere that are going to analyze their claims and their crap. So that surveillance camera from the prison, that footage was actually edited with, let's see, did I write it down? It was edited with Premiere. The metadata shows Adobe edited also multiple times, and it was exported more than once. 21 gigabytes of files. So the experts at Wired, let me kick them some credit. So everybody's talking about it. When I say everybody, I mean the channels that I really like to watch, like Occupy Democrats and Keith, is it Keith Edwards? I think is the name of his channel. That Secular Talk, I forget that guy's name. His channel is called Secular Talk. So many good channels. And yeah, they're all tearing it up. That Jack Cochichelia, Adam Mockler, Luke Beasley, they are all tearing it up. And for good reason. So it was edited. It gets even better. It gets even more specific. Like these fools are insane. We lost a whole minute in 2000 with WTF. And if we've been losing a minute ever since, then we've already lost 25 minutes on here on planet Earth, right? That's a good one. We thought we were going to potentially lose a lot more than that with Y2K. Remember, my brother-in-law actually worked for Boeing for a long time, and then he worked for an insurance company. Can't think of the name of it right now, but I think he was working for the insurance company, and he's an engineer. He's one of those brainiacs. He was working on the Y2K project for a long time, and they really did think that it was like going to shut down our water systems and everything, that we were all going to be screwed because nothing had been done with the forethought of what do we do after 1999. So luckily there were enough people like him doing all the hard work. It prevented there from being any kind of problem at all, except for in the imagination of Pam Bondi, where there was this problem of losing a minute now every night at midnight on the surveillance cameras in a prison. Like, how stupid would that be? Like, if you're going to lose that minute, like, wouldn't you know to have a backup system for that 1 minute that people are going to be trying to commit crimes? I mean, or just doing illicit things. I mean, how many prison guards take advantage of their prisoners, and the prisoners are like completely down with it because they're taking advantage of the prison guards, right? I mean, that's normal stuff, unfortunately. I watch them all too sometimes. Yeah, I know. I love that we have so many options, and I love scouring the internet, trying to find the things that I'm looking for, and then finding all kinds of other crazy crap that I had no idea was even there. If only we could go back to 2000, but still know what we know to stop all this madness. So yeah, during the Y2K is when I lived in Ballard, which is a neighborhood of Seattle. My husband and I were renting the upstairs of a house from an acupuncturist who moved into her basement so she could rent out the upstairs because she was transitioning out of being a business owner into working a corporate job. And the corporate job that she was working was for Amazon. And it was a brand new little startup. And she was there from minute one. And they did so bad the first year. They didn't know if they were going to be able to go more than another year. And, they had this radical idea of how it was going to change how everybody grocery shops and all this other insanity. Anyway, yeah, I was right there. And there was a reason why she went from being a private business owner to corporate. And that was mostly because she needed surgery on her ankle. And with the Amazon job came insurance. Like, she scoured to make sure that she got the insurance that would cover the surgery and all that. So then I even gave her a ride to work at Amazon when it was a brand new little tiny podunk startup. I don't know how many employees they had, but it was a huge flop the first 12 months. Isn't that crazy? You could have invested. Well, no, I couldn't have, because I barely had 2 dimes to rub together. It was actually during the time that I was in litigation with the King County Superior Court. So I had sunk all my money into a retainer for legal representation. So I was just lucky to have enough money to secure legal representation with that crap. And yeah, we won't get into all that. But that was when I really learned it was up until that point in time that I did not believe in corruption. I did not believe in victimhood. I really thought that people that talked about those things were just idiots and that they were just bringing it on themselves, and that the only people that were victims were people that made bad choices. And then I also believed that the government was totally out for the benefit of constituents and fighting for the rights of people, and that law enforcement was the same. And I had no idea. So when I was working for King County Superior Court and saw with me own eyeballs how insane it all was behind the curtain, using the Wizard of Oz metaphor, because I think that's exactly what that Wizard of Oz metaphor is for, right? Um, I was like, oh, okay. So do I just quit my job with the courts and go move forward with, I was working as an adjunct faculty at a graduate school in Seattle, teaching art therapy and marriage and family therapy. What else? I just started a private practice. The job that I had for King County was part-time because I had another part-time job with King County, which was doing the mental health crisis interventions. So the King County Superior Court, family court that I worked in, that I had to file a lawsuit against, was for court-appointed special advocates, CASA. It was the CASA office. And it was a huge waste of everybody's time and money. And it really was just the long arm of the law. CASA was designed to give children in very contentious divorces with hideous experiences and family situations. It was designed to give those kids their own guardian ad litem. In a really bad divorce case, each parent has an attorney, but the kids also have an attorney. In a really bad divorce case, for people that have money, they will get a guardian ad litem for the kids. So if you don't have money and your kids need one because there's allegations or there's proof of Rex abuse and rugs and all kinds of mayhem, then the court would appoint a court-appointed special advocate, which is a free guardian ad litem. And most of those volunteers are actually attorneys that are just trying to get experience under their belts. And the program started there in Seattle, and it ended there in Seattle. At least that office did, because it was a huge waste of the taxpayer dollars. They were doing nothing except basically being like a self-licking ice cream cone, right? So all of the funding that went into that program was just an utter waste. And when I saw that, I thought, I'm just going to bail out of here because it's not my problem. but the things that were going on were terrible, and the kids were not getting the representation that they needed. And so I tried to do something about it. I tried to go to human resources. I tried to go to my supervisor and address these issues. And then lo and behold, they decided that they just wanted to make me the bad guy, and I had to sue them, and it took 4 years. And that closed that office. So that office is in every county across the country, but it started right there in King County in downtown Seattle. But when they closed it, they reopened it in the private sector. And I haven't followed to see what has happened with that CASA office or other CASA offices. 1 second. You little peanut, get out. Get out. Go. You loud dog. Go. Okay. Enough with the doggy interruptions. Isn't the new set cool? It sounds like a good idea. I used to believe all that too. That's crazy. You could have invested. Yeah, that's so terrible. They pretend to be good guys, but they are the bad guys. Well, really, what it was doing in Seattle specifically, what I saw as being so toxic, was that the courts controlled CASA. It was right there in the courthouse. And so it really gave the judge more control and more power, because people had to write the reports that the judge wanted to see, or they'd basically not be doing themselves any favors. And so, yeah, it wasn't like it was supposedly like a third party, like an unbiased opinion, right? No. It just gave the courts more control over what they thought should happen. And it was very messed up. Anyway, where was I with all of that mayhem? It was very devastating to me to see that you couldn't trust our government, and to see that you couldn't trust the establishment, because I literally trusted the establishment. And it, on a very deep philosophical level, it just devastated me. It destroyed me, because I grew up my whole life thinking, like, if you're just smart and you make good decisions and you're a good person, then bad things won't happen to you, right? And that was when I realized how much of a fantasy that was, that you could be a really good person and make really good decisions, and then you could still have horrible things happen. Or you could be a really horrible person and make absolutely asinine decisions and still have great things happen. So, case in point is the situation in Texas. Like, these families and these kids and these people, thinking, okay, we're smart, we're doing everything right, we're taking good care of ourselves. And then now they're saying that flood, the wall of water that the Guadalupe River became in that area by Mystic Camp, that was really like ground zero of where the worst of it was. It was more like a 29 or 30-foot wall of water that came barreling in. It's still really sketchy with the time framing and the chronology of who knew what when, right? I mean, that's what it always really comes back to when you're looking at when you're trying to dissect it and basically do an autopsy of the crisis, so that you can learn from it and prevent it from happening that same way again. And people don't want to admit anything. So one of my biggest criticisms of the whole thing is with the federal government, is with Trumpster Fire and Kristi Noem, who is the biggest poser piece of crap in the world. So there she was on Sunday posting her little paintings of herself on her horse with her Western hat and her liposuction likeness, and asking her Instagram followers which portrait they voted for her to put into the walls of the government, whatever building there in South Dakota that she's from. And she was doing that on Sunday. It takes a long time to make a post like that. That can take a good hour or two, unless, of course, you have staff that do it for you, which she probably does. But she had also changed the law so that FEMA could not release emergency funds and emergency help without her approval if it was over $100,000. And pretty much everything that FEMA does is over $100,000. And they knew that when she made that change, that was going to tie the hands of FEMA in a real crisis, that would be a disaster. And that's exactly what happened. So the crisis happened in the wee hours of July 4th, before Trumpster Fire signed his damn blunderous, blasphemous bill. And instead of paying attention to what was going on in Texas, he just sat there and signed his effing bill. And then played a bunch of golf over the weekend, did his stupid ice cream cone licking thing, because he is a self-licking ice cream cone. And then Monday, Noem finally got around to approving the funds for the disaster in Texas, the federal emergency. Federal emergency. So you know how they've been saying that they think that the state should handle their own disasters. Well, guess what? It's a federal emergency fund. Federal Emergency and Management Agency, is that what it is? FEMA. But it's federal. It's federal for a reason, because you've got some states that are wealthier than other states. You've got some states that are more rural than other states. It needs to be federally funded, and it needs to be federally managed. But they're not trying to revamp it. They're trying to eliminate it. And then they're pretending that they want to rebuild it. But that's not what they're doing. They just want to eliminate it. They don't care. They want the population, the herds, to be thinned, in my opinion. In my humble conspiracy theory opinion, allegedly. Fred is back. Oh, and Christine is here. Vieja. Hey, it's been a while. Nice to see you. I know I said I believed in our government, but I knew there were bad cops in my teens, and I know that the Reagan administration was terrible and started with destroying unions, then wages stagnated, and yeah. I lived in California when I'd like to call him Ronnie Reggae, Fire Up the Sky. When Ronnie got elected, I was living in California, living in Malibu, and he had a ranch up on a cliff overlooking the beach. But that wasn't where he lived. That was just where he rode his horses, because, he was John Wayne. He lived over there in Pacific Palisades, the place that burned down this past year. The urban area that burned down in a wild forest fire without any forest around. That one. But yeah, he was an actor. Come on. He was a John Wayne wannabe. And then, he was tall and he had a good square jawline. So it worked for people. He won the election. Since then, he's been put on this pedestal like he was the greatest thing since sliced bread. His whole freaking trickle down bull crap. No, he was a train wreck. He also had really bad Alzheimer's, and it was completely covered up. I think that movie, Dave, starring Kevin Costner, I think that it was about him in particular. Like, what do you do when you're in a situation like that? Like the situation that we're in now. Again. But yeah, I used to think that people that complained about government were completely insane and just wasting their time. I would joke around about them all the time. I was so cold. So, I have been watching the news. Do tornado watch for my area. What? Bad storms coming across the Mississippi. Wow, Fred, I have not even known about this yet. You guys had the flooding the other day. Boston had flooding. I know there was a mass casualty event. Was it in Baltimore, Maryland? It was something. I saw it right before I came on. I saw that there was some stuff on YouTube about it. Another shooter. Didn't respond for 72 hours to the flooding. I know, Vieja, I know. It's devastating. It's absolutely devastating. Nobody was rescued after Friday. And so here we are at Friday. It's been exactly a week. El Presidente and his mail order bride arrived there today. I was going to try to give them the benefit of the doubt, but of course, all he did was get off the plane and start putting his feet in his mouth, right? Just saying stupid things like, there's my buddy, Dr. Phil, and my buddy, Abbott. And yeah, I'll help him out because he's my buddy, not like that Newsom guy. Newscum. I've missed you so much. Oh, are you talking to Vieja? Annabes? Yeah, stay safe, Fred. That is scary. I live in a tornado alley type of area. He was the start of the demise of our country. That's interesting that you phrase it like that, Anna Bees, because you're just about my age, right? And I wouldn't have a wide enough angle lens perspective to see that, but I can see what you mean. Yeah, definitely staying safe is the most important thing. So, when these floodwaters were even just uh, a concept of a plan, basically, when the floods were just like they knew that the river was going to rise, they knew that they were expecting somewhere around 6 inches of rain and that the river would surge, but they didn't think it was going to be 13 inches of rain, and they had no idea it was going to surge the way it did. And of course, there's a lot of people saying that it was cloud seeding, blah, 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 blah. Um, what's important is that when you think that there might be a disaster, is that you're prepared. It's like the Boy Scouts. What is their little saying? Always be prepared. Expect um, plan for the worst, expect the best. What is that? They have a great saying for the Boy Scouts. Be prepared for the worst, hope for the best. Something to that effect. Um, and yeah, being married to a first responder, it's like he's always ready to go. And it's hard to understand an area like Kerr County that when the firefighter, I think, was the first one to call into his dispatch and say, and he was like so calm, maybe that was part of the problem. I mean, not to put it on him, but he was so calm, and he said, the river's rising and you can't pass over this road. The road that he named meant that first responders weren't going to be able to get to the places that needed help. And what happens in that area with all of the hills and valleys is that when it floods, it becomes a whole bunch of islands. So when he called dispatch and said, is there any way to basically make the code red emergency alert? And the dispatcher said, we can't do that without a supervisor's approval. And then they try to say that it was enacted within 90 minutes, which again, every second counts. But really, that phone call was somewhere around 4 o'clock, give or take half an hour. And it wasn't a full code red, I don't think, until 10 o'clock. So things started 90 minutes later, but it wasn't in full effect until like 10:04, I think was the exact time. By then, it was, not to be so ironic, but it was water under the bridge, right? And then to think that since Friday, it's only been recovery, so it's a rescue mission if they're hoping to find people alive. And if they are not expecting people to be alive, they simply call it a recovery mission, a recovery effort. So I think we all were holding on to hope that it was still a rescue mission until 3 or 4 days into it. And then we're like, well, yeah, dehydration, people aren't going to survive. And again, the irony, being surrounded by water, but then if it was dehydration that took somebody. But no, it wasn't. Apparently, it was people were already deceased immediately. I mean, when you have that 30-foot surge of water, and then because of the dryness of the area, it's basically like cement on the ground, which also means that everything is going to get washed up into the water. So you got the brush, the cars, the buildings, everything, because it's so brittle. Not the trees, everything is going to get taken in the water. So then you're not just dealing with the water and the rip tide, the rip current taking you under. You're also dealing with getting hit by machinery, sharp metal, glass, trees, houses, other people. I mean, it's a freaking nightmare. Absolutely heartbreaking. And it just kills me thinking about the children. They're still really not talking about the ages of the children that were victimized by the flood. For the majority of them are that youngest group, and there were some there as young as 7 years old. So the youngest campers had to have finished second grade, and the 5 that are still missing are all in that youngest camper range, probably 8 and 9 year olds. When it was 20 that were missing, it was all in that 8, 9 year old range, but they are not saying that. They're leaving that out of the information. So then it went to 10 little kids and 1 camp counselor. Now it's down to 5 little kids and 1 camp counselor. And they're still not saying how little these kids were, and that they shouldn't have even been located where they were located, even in the event, without any threat of rain or flooding. But, once the water starts coming in, once people start having emergencies and crises, don't wait, don't hesitate. And 72 hours, like, it really makes me think that that was intentional with Kristi Noem. I mean, I don't go there with the local officials with it taking 90 minutes and then up to 6 hours. Not going there with local officials, but with the FEMA stuff, yeah, that was intentional. As far as I'm concerned, that was 100% intentional. And then she went with Trumpster Fire today to visit, and she's got some freaking cojones to do that because she's already been there. And she's such a freaking poser. Like, she is such a poser. Like, literally poses for those pictures that she's trying to get a survey on when she should be deploying the National Guard and the Corps of Army Engineers and every other resource that she has available. And has any of that even been deployed by now? I really don't know. And I keep watching as much as I possibly can about all of it. Let's see. Yeah, the tornado, man. Be careful. He was the start of the demise of our country. Be safe, Fred. Listening. I have to do something, but I'm still listening. I am 61 years old. So yeah, I am almost 58. So we're super close in age. But yeah, I always forget if we're the same age or how close we are. And yeah, I do a lot of things while I'm listening to YouTube, and sometimes I miss stuff, but I still have to get things done, and I just try to catch as much as I can. And then that's why I go back and re-listen to things that I really want to focus on. You guys are whippersnappers to my 79. Well, you're pretty much a whippersnapper too, Fred Field. I don't think I could do your job. I have the walk-in closet supplied with flashlights, batteries, water, and so on. So I read that as I have the walk-in closet, not I have the walk-in closet. But yeah, you're all set. Good. Well, working at Menards, you probably get a good discount. Huh? I never thought about that. No basement in my ranch house. Yeah. Well, and then you're supposed to go into like the most inner room in your house. And if that's like a bathroom, then go into the bath. Take blankets and water and food and pillows because you might be there for a while. And that's what we do. We don't have a basement either. Janesville and Monroe just got tornado warnings as well. And Clinton, Vieja. Yeah, I am not a Clinton fan at all. So it sounds like you're not either. And I don't know if you're talking about him as far as like ruining our government or ruining people's lives with his Epstein shenanigans. But I believe that he's just as guilty as Donnie Two Dolls with the Epstein shenanigans. And I could care less whether whatever freaking party they're from, if they have committed crimes and destroyed people's lives like that, let them burn. Let them burn. The youngest campers were housed in the lowest area. Exactly, Fred. I know. I know. It makes no sense. Like, why would you do that? Why on earth would you do that? Ugh. So my head just starts spinning. That's just too much. So on the 4th of July, Trump was signing his freaking bill that he had been manipulating people to get it passed. So there were some holdouts from the Republican Party that said, no way am I signing it. And then he met with them behind closed doors and they said, way. And I doubt he just like sweetened the deal with bribes. I mean, that's probably part of it, but it was probably more threats. Like, if you don't do it, you're done. Oh, I know it's so terrible, Anna Bees. Vieja says, my daughter and I cried when we found out about the Texas flooding because we talked about sending her daughter to camp, even though we're in Wisconsin. Wow. It just makes me want to cry too. I know I'm very, very, just as a mother, just as a human, but having 4 children, it just rips my heart out. Clinton is a town on the Mississippi, US 30. Oh, Clinton that Vieja was talking about? Well, it's also a really bad president who hung out with Epstein a lot, right? I hate that all this happened. I know. Well, and this is my thing, you guys, is like once Elon made that threat with that post about, the reason why the Epstein files hasn't been released, and I think this was on June 5th, a month and a week ago. The reason why those files haven't been released is because Trump's in them, right? Epstein said that. And I think it was that same day that he put up the post that, what did the post say exactly? I meant to write it down in my little handy dandy notebook, but I don't know if I did. The post was something to the effect of, if it wasn't for me, Trump wouldn't have won the election. Trump would have lost the election if it wasn't for me, and that the Democrats would be controlling the House and that the Senate would be like 51 to 49. He was very specific. He knew exactly what he was talking about. So to me, that was a threat of, don't F with me, Donnie, or I will out the fact that we stole the election. Is it Brazil? Is Brazil the country that has leadership? Yeah. Brazil's president or prime minister, I think it's president, had cheated on the election. And this is why Donnie is hating Brazil right now and giving them a 50% tariff, is because they busted him. They busted the guy and stripped him of the win. I don't know if he's gotten prison time, but honestly, doesn't this entire administration belong in a place like the alligator Alcatraz that they've designed to put people in? And when you were talking about the immigrants earlier and how they were raiding the marijuana fields in California, they also like tear gassed some little kids, allegedly. Unbelievable. I hate that all of this happened. Well, and so it's still happening. So what I feel like has happened is since that post, the two posts that Elon put up on June 5th, that he then took down, I think on the 7th, and then he made some apology and said, oh, I crossed the line. I was being mean or something. No, I don't think he did cross the line. And I think he needs to go back and finish what he started and come clean with the whole thing. Like, what does he know about the Epstein files? Mind you, that the big E hung out with the little E also. And is it you, Anna Bees, or Billy Darling, or who in my chat who has often said that Amber Heard and little or Big E and Amber Heard did much the same thing that Ghislaine and little E did? I'm getting myself confused with my big little E crap. So Amber Heard was like Elon's Ghislaine. And we've all heard how Trumpster Fire said about Ghislaine after she was convicted that he just wishes her well. Oh, she's a great person. I've met her a few times. I wish her well. I was so baffled for so long why he said that. And it wasn't until more recently that I was like, oh, he said that because she could destroy him in a blink of an eye. And so, yeah, he probably will give her a pardon so that she doesn't destroy him in the blink of an eye. But him giving her a pardon would also destroy him in the blink of an eye. So he'd have to be very careful about it. And once those threats were made by Elon on the 5th of June, then the National Guard was deployed to Los Angeles and they started doing all these crazy ICE raids. And then came the bombing of Iran. And then just one thing after another. And I literally believe in my heart of all hearts that all of these crazy acts of violence against humanity are intentional on Donnie Tudall's part to try to distract everybody from the Epstein thing. And then he had his ridiculous clowns of a cabinet come out Sunday, 5 days ago, with, yeah, there aren't really any Epstein files. Yeah, I don't know what anybody was even thinking about. No, he didn't keep track of anything. And no, he wasn't part of the Israeli government, like CIA, FBI kind of thing. I think it's called Mossad, I think is what that's called. And no, he definitely was never going to blackmail anybody, had no intention of blackmailing anybody. And he definitely did this to himself. Okay. It's like the double think, double speak. So, okay. So we know that he was offed. We know that he was indeed basically a government operations official for Israel. We know that he had the files on everybody and the videotapes of everybody so that he could blackmail them. And not just for himself, but for the Israel government. And what was the other thing? It's like, it's so hard to even keep up. So it's 4 things. The government official, he did it to himself. Oh, and he didn't have any list of nobody. Yeah, no list. No list. We was just kidding. No, when we was talking about the list, we was talking about our list of groceries, right? I mean, Pam Bondi and her caginess of trying to talk her way out of the things that she's already said is laughable if it weren't so effing tragic. All of these clowns, they can't get fired because I don't think that Trumpster Fire would be able to find anybody to replace them with. Like, people don't want to be part of this crap. A lot of positions are open simply because even if they can get paid big bucks and get all kinds of sweet deals, people don't want to be around this crap. It's vile, it's toxic, and it's just a matter of time until it blows up in everybody's face. Hopefully, fingers crossed, right? I mean, the scary thing is to think if they continue with their Gestapo crap and it just keeps going that way. I mean, eventually it'll end, but how many people are going to be hurt in the meantime? And how many more crises, planned and unplanned, are we going to have? When this whole thing with the Epstein file threat from Elon first started, I immediately started talking about 9/11 because if you don't remember, there was that Chandra Levy thing going on with the California. Oh, what was that douchebag's name? Chandra Levy. It was like con something. He was a con man. Um, Let me look at my phone. And that was blowing up. And then when 9/11 happened, Gary Condit. See, again, all I have to do is touch my phone and then my neurons start firing. Gary Condit. Yeah, after 9/11, nobody got back to the Chandra Levy Gary Condit thing. And then when they, came up with their whole thing about the rando immigrant that allegedly did that to her, like, give me an effing break, man. Rock Creek Park is highly trafficked and utilized by all kinds of joggers and walkers and people with dogs every day. There's no way that her bones were out there for a freaking year. No, it didn't happen. Did not happen. Gary Condit should have been buried with that Chandra Levy crisis. And I think her parents are still alive. I think her father is a physician and her mother is an absolute wreck still to this day, because you don't ever get over something like that. Even if it doesn't have anything to do with like the national government and the existential angst that you suffer realizing that your national government would do something like that to a 23-year-old intern and then cover it up to protect a Gary Condit. Gross. It just makes your head spin. And just the misogyny. And yeah, it was almost all female campers that passed away. There, I think, were 14 summer camps, different camp locations in that area of the Guadalupe River. And some of them were girls' camps and some of them were boys' camps. And there are a couple of boy campers' lives that were lost. But for the most part, it's females. It's young girls. It is just so nauseating. I hate that it happened, and I hate that it continues to happen. And, I've been watching some of the local Texas news, and they are just being way too kind and forgiving of dear leader, in my opinion. It's Texas. And of course, they don't want to piss him off and offend him and then have him tighten the screws on the situation. So I understand that, but it's also crazy how fearful news media is of him and his lawyers and his threats and his disgraceful behavior. I have to work tomorrow if the store is still there, Fred. Yes, I said that. I don't remember where I heard that. Right, about the Amber Heard thing. So yeah, I had read in several places that Elon threw a lot of house parties when he was younger and would charge people at the door. You know who else threw house parties and charged people at the door? Sean Combs, Puffy Daddy. That was what he did in college. He threw house parties and charged people at the door. So what do you think people got for that fee? Do you think they got to see live music? I don't think there was live music there. Was that like to cover the party favors? Were some of the party favors not inanimate objects and rugs, but the other type? I think you are exactly on point, Jazz. Well, it makes me so sick. I wish that I was just completely insane conspiracy theorist and all this was just out of control, stupid confabulation. Oh, well, didn't know about the herd and glad I turn into you. I learned things. Oh, VA, how you're so sweet. Yeah. Yeah. And again, we learned that from Anna B's. I didn't know the thing about Amber Heard either. I think it was just like 3 weeks ago, roughly, when Anna B's brought that up. And we were talking about Johnny Depp. Or I was thinking you were talking about Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, and I was like, no, not Johnny. I mean, he's a questionable character, but hopefully not that questionable. I saw a meme that had Ghislaine Maxwell and saying, if there isn't a list, then why am I in jail? Exactly, Anna B's. Exactly. No, there were 2,000 people on her lists, and her lists were sealed after her trial. And the thousands of videos that Pam Bondi is like, oh, that was kiddie porn and it's gross and it's bad. It's like, well, still, let's say that what you're saying is true. Isn't it your job? Isn't it your duty to find out the source of who made it and who's in it and who's distributing it and bust all of those people and rescue those victims if they're still alive? A lot of these victims aren't going to be alive, and it's not because of self-injury. A lot of Giuffre's cohort self-induced, right? I don't believe it. She's at least the third one that testified in the first trial against Little E that self-unalived. Third one. Out of what, like 7 or something? I don't know. It might have been like 20. I'm not sure the exact number of people, but let me let Coco out one sec. Go on, baby girl. Okay, is that the third time I've had to get up to let in and out? Okay, so I did find out that the cloud seeding states, I mentioned this yesterday, Colorado, Utah, and Wyoming, are the main forerunners in cloud seeding. They do it for snow. They do it for precipitation. I guess you can cloud seed with that silver iodide to prevent hail, so you can turn hail into snow. But I just found it very fascinating that those states, if you look at a map of our country, or if you can just visualize it, that Utah, Colorado, and Wyoming are all basically north of Texas and New Mexico, because New Mexico had some flooding too. Some fatalities, some severe flooding, nowhere near to the degree of what happened in Kerr County. But I don't know if the seeding can have adverse effects like that. I don't know if it's just a natural disaster that has nothing to do with global warming and cloud seeding. I don't know. But what we do know is that it happened and that it was dire, and we need to prevent it from happening again. So if cloud seeding, it needs to be known if cloud seeding can have side effects like that, or if there was some type of nefarious cloud seeding going on intentionally to create something like that. I'm not saying that there was. I think that that's quite a stretch, to say the least. But I do think that you need to leave no stone unturned in a crisis like this. Absolutely no stone unturned. But I mean, just the global warming is bad enough. And a lot of these natural disasters were predictable with global warming, that it would create a hothouse effect and that it would create more Superstorm Sandy types of situations. Superstorm Sandy, wasn't that like 12 or 13 years ago now? Was it? I think it was 2012, wasn't it? It was like, was it October 28th, 2012? Let me see what my Google will tell me. I haven't Googled anything. I only touched my phone once. One sec. Superstorm Sandy. Let's see. It just says October 2012. What was the exact date? Oh my goodness. It was October 22nd through November 2nd. It was 10 days long. What? So, but where it hit New Jersey maybe was the 28th. Let me see. Let me see exactly if I ask. Day it hit New Jersey. October 29th. Damn. I only remember that because my mother was in the hospital and almost passed away. And it was that hospitalization that made her, where she had kidney failure and then had to be on dialysis. So she was in the ICU for a few days. So that's why I was thinking it was October 28th. Maybe she went into the ICU on October 28th or something. But when she came out of her coma, and I told her about it, and it was on the news, it was on the television in her room, and she was really groggy, and she's like, "What is that? What's going on?" And I told her about Superstorm Sandy, and she literally didn't believe me or the TV. She was like, "No, they're exaggerating. They're making that up. That's just not possible." And so I always saw it as like she had her own Superstorm Sandy internally. I mean, she still lived for 10 years after that. So we were lucky because once you have kidney failure, average life expectancy is 7 years. So anyway, I didn't want you to think that I just remembered it because I'm like that smart. I only remembered it because my mom's medical crisis. Like I said, we always called it her own internal Superstorm Sandy because she had the kidney failure. She had dehydration so severe that could have taken her. And then she also had like crystals in her like urinary tract or something that were so severe that could have taken her too. So she had the trifecta thing. Like she had 3 separate things that each one of them could have taken her life, and she survived all 3 of them. And wasn't Superstorm Sandy, wasn't that like 3 different storms that intersected, I think? Let's see. How did I miss? DOT isn't gonna try to pardon Ghislaine. Is how dumb would that be? I think that you are accurate, Vieja, and I think that a lot of channels are talking about it today. And so if you're on YouTube and looking at thumbnails, it might look like he's all of a sudden, entertaining the idea. But I think they're talking about in his first term that he seriously entertained the idea, that he had meetings with some of his top officials about it. But no, they'd have to weigh it out. Like, okay, well, if I don't pardon her, she could destroy me with the information she has, and if I do pardon her, the whole world's going to turn against me. So, how do you play that four-dimensional chess? Stable genius, what you gonna do? What you gonna do about it? It would prove that Donnie was involved if he did pardon her, Christine. Yeah, wouldn't it? It kind of, to me, it proves that he was involved. Just him saying, "I wish her well." Like, why would you wish a child trafficker well? I mean, these people destroy lives and destroy families. They absolutely destroy people, and they don't care. They're like a superstorm Sandy, just shredding through young girls, basically. Vengeance, as if he ain't involved already. Yep, P. Diddy got away with it. Ooh, it's so gross, isn't it? They are super religious in that area. Many interviewed said God with comfort the youngest in the afterlife, that comforts the survivors. Right. Well, I mean, in my opinion, you almost have to make peace with that and accept that just for your own healing. I personally think it's also very appropriate to be pissed off with God in a situation like that. Like, God, why would you allow that to happen to a young child? I know that that is counterintuitive to some, but I think it's healthy too to actually be real and truthful with yourself and your emotions. And the whole grieving process is a process of the denial, the acceptance, the bargaining. What are the other two? It starts usually with denial, and then it quickly goes to anger, and then comes the bargaining, and then comes something else, and then the acceptance, and then comes the integrating it, trying to make sense of it. So there's like a sixth phase. But what is it? Denial, anger, the grieving, the sadness. I mean, just to be in your sadness is really tough, but feeling that pain is going to help you get through it. A lot of people postpone the grieving, they hide from the grieving, and then they're going to be stuck in their process if they can't just taste the pain, is how I like to say it. It's a Red Hot Chili Pepper song, Taste the Pain. It's a really good song. And once I really studied the grieving process, I felt like I understood where they were coming from with that song. Um, but yeah, the denial and the anger, it's all a natural part of the process. But sometimes people go straight to the acceptance. Like they skip the denial, they skip the anger, they skip the pain, and they skip the bargaining. The bargaining is sort of like, well, okay, if that has to happen, then I'll do this. That's like what the bargaining is. Um, Trying to like make deals psychologically internally with yourself and with the higher power. But yeah, it's entirely possible to go straight to the acceptance, but you're still gonna have to deal with the rest of the grieving process, is my belief. And that's kind of the consensus with mental health, that you can't escape it. You cannot escape the anger, the rage. I mean, you should be rageful. And then who are you going to direct that rage at? If it's an act of God, then you're going to direct that rage at God. But if it's because Christy Nome was too busy with her freaking portrait selection post, they could have enacted FEMA in the wee hours of Friday morning. I mean, I think I started to hear about this situation in Texas early Friday morning, early, because it was the 4th of July. And Trumpster fire was too busy with his big, beautiful bill signing. And then it drives me nuts when he signs his freaking, what do you call those, things that he's constantly signing, and then he holds it up with his big ass signature on it. Executive order. And then he's like, look at me, I signed my name. And then on the 4th of July, they have him sitting at that desk, which I'm sorry, but he looks like a toddler. He looks very helpless when he's sitting and everybody around him is standing. It's ridiculous. Like they should just prop him up standing or have everybody else sitting down or something. Maybe not have anybody else there, because he looks so stupid when he's sitting down and they're all standing. It makes it look like he's not the one in power. And I don't think he is the one in power. But then they hand him that freaking gavel and he's like banging the desk, and literally his sycophants are like, oh, when he starts banging the desk with his gavel, like he's a freaking toddler. And they're just like, oh, look, he made poopy. We're so proud of him. I mean, help. And they're doing this. They're putting on this show with him and his stupid desk and his stupid gavel and his stupid signature crap, while all of these people are traumatized and suffering. And at that point in the day, there were still a lot of people on tops of buildings and in trees that did get rescued alive, but still needed rescuing. But they had the authority, they had the resources to send that out in the blink of an eye, and they waited until Monday. So I say, F them all. Like, off with their freaking heads, metaphorically speaking. Like, if this doesn't do it, like, really? Even if it is sheerly an act of God, sheerly, which I'd say there's a good probability that it is sheerly an act of God, that it's not because of this cloud seeding, or, maybe not even because of global warming, although that's kind of a stretch in my mind. I mean, the global warming affects all of us. But yeah, you're going to have 100-year floods even without global warming. Very weird that all these people have self-induced deletions or misadventures. Exactly. I know. And I have their names, so I can pull that up to share. I have their names and the places and the dates. And yeah, it was 3 of the people who testified in the first trial. The one that Alexander Acosta did his stupid whitewashing covering up. And then, that was in 0708. And then Dear Donnie appointed him to his freaking cabinet in his first administration. And a lot of people didn't want him because of what he had done with little E. And he barely got in by the skin of the teeth. And then the minute little E was arrested, he had to resign. Alex Acosta. What a piece of crap. I don't think that they would do something like that. I don't think they are advanced enough to be in control of the weather. Well, I didn't think so either, Annabes, but the cloud seeding is a thing. The cloud seeding, I think, can only speed things up or slow things down. Like, it gives them some control. But in my opinion, it's still the weather, and the weather is still unpredictable. But I don't know. I don't know if it can be manipulated to such an extent. I do not know. But yeah, you can Google cloud seeding, like seeding, like the seeds that you plant. And it's been going on for decades, and it's common practice, and they used to deny it. I mean, that's what makes it so hard to not get suspicious, is it's like, well, if they denied it for so long, then what else are they denying, right? I'm going to try to get a little sleep before the weather front arrives. That's a really good idea. I don't know what NNGB is. Night, night, goodbye. I'm not with it enough to know that, but thank you for coming, Mr. Field. And yeah, we'll be wrapping up soon too, because it's already an hour and 20 minutes in. Thank you for being here, everybody. I really appreciate you guys. Yeah, yesterday when I thought they were like closing down my YouTube channel, I was like, what will I do? I'm so into my YouTube. It would be rough. I would figure something out, of course, but I was just like, OMG. Fred, I would hope that they are somewhere better. I really do, but it's like saying thoughts and prayers after a school shooting. Texas refused money that Biden was giving them for infrastructure. Oh, I didn't know that, Anna Bees. Ugh. Yeah, I mean, what's so sad is that they had a big flood. The last one in that area, I think, was 1987. And there were 10 teenagers at camp that passed away in that flood. But from my research, it looks like those were the only fatalities and that they were all on a bus. So it wasn't like they had passed away because of bad planning at camp and a lack of an evacuation emergency plan. It was a problem that happened in transporting on the bus. And, that's almost 40 years ago. And it doesn't look like they've had other campers really have fatalities in that area from flash floods. And yet they have had, I think, 20 city meetings in the area over the span of the last, I'm not sure how many years, like if that's over 10 years or 20 years. But 20 meetings where they brought up the code red emergency system alert plan, because they need a freaking siren, right? I mean, like, that's what we have in our area. We have one in our city, and I think all the cities around here have them, the tornado sirens. And when you hear that siren, there's no negotiating, there's no waiting. You just go straight for your emergency plan. So, they do the severe weather alert. The severe weather emergency is more severe than the alert. Alert just means be ready. Emergency means it's here. And once you hear the siren, it is on top of you. We're under tornado warnings as of now. Vieja, where are you? Are you in the Chicago area too? Take cover. Yeah, you guys. Yikes. And prayers for your safety. Yeah, tornadoes are scary, just like the freaking floods. Denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance. Yeah, the depression would be like the grieving, the sadness, right? Exactly. And then there's the aftermath. I really like the idea of the sixth phase of making sense of it, like putting it into your life story of how it. I think it's important for things to make sense, and a lot of things don't make sense. Like the loss of a child, that will never make sense, in my opinion. However, to try to make sense of it, and I know people who have lost children who have done that, and they don't see any other way. I was very angry with God after my mom and husband passed 24 hours apart. Well, that's just crazy. I mean, dang. And yeah, I think that that's healthy to have your anger and to admit it. Anger doesn't have to be negative, it doesn't have to be destructive. It can be a very positive motivator. You can put the fire under your feet to take action, healthy and intelligent action. A lot of people equate anger with violence, and no, not necessarily. You do have to go through all the stages of grief at one time or another. And also, it's totally possible. I used to kind of be a grief expert in my expertise with mental health. It's kind of normal to also experience all the stages of grief all at once. It's not a linear process. It's more like a river, not to be ironic. or poetic, but you can swim back and forth. You can go from one to the other. They're not going to be in that order necessarily, but that is primarily the order that they come in. Like the denial just sets in right away, and then the anger too, and then the rest of it kind of comes in its own time. But yeah, you can go straight to acceptance, sadness, and be angry all at the same time. There's no wrong way to grieve. It's not intelligent. It's not healthy to avoid the grieving. You it's pretty much mandatory that you grieve in order to get past it. If you don't get past it, you're going to be stuck. Yes, Christine, stay safe. Yeah, you guys. Dang. Wow. Let me look at my notes. I know there's some other things that I probably really wanted to say that I hadn't gotten to yet. I think I'm looking at the wrong page. I was looking at yesterday's pages. I pretty much have like 2 pages for each live. So let me see. I was looking at yesterday's stuff, thinking, wait, I already talked about that. Okay, so the grok thing. You're exactly right, Jez. You can go through it in any order. And I think it's important to know that there's no wrong way to grieve and there's no right way to grieve. I mean, it's just going to suck, unfortunately. But being in a support group is also a very helpful healing process for a lot of people. So the grok crap. So you know how grok was getting all like Nazi yesterday? Well, it turns out that they've done some research. These smart computer programmer types, and that what they learned is that grok. Well, I think that little E or big E, sorry, admitted to it, that he said that he reprogrammed grok because it was too woke. It was too woke for him and his people that hate that crap. So he reprogrammed it to basically go through a deduction process of more like, what would Elon say? What would Elon think? And so it went to his posts and the things that he has said and the ways that he's expressed himself. And then that's when it came up with all of that Adolf stuff, was when it was reprogrammed by Elon to be more like Elon. And it tells on itself. And it's just so funny, him being the genius that he wants to portray that he is, and that he pretends that he is, and that he thinks he is. And it's like, dude, your damn artificial intelligence keeps ratting you out. And then if you tell it not to rat you out, it'll rat you out for that. Because didn't that already happen? OMG. Grok got very Yahtzee. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I did put a link in the description to yesterday's video of the guy who does the makeup for people that he's making fun of that are primarily Republican cabinet members of the Republican Party. So I put 2 links in there of And Mayhem Ensued. He's really good at what he does. He's talented makeup artist and just a talented YouTuber. So I put the one of Caroline Levitt, and I also put one of Kristi Noem. That was your bonus one. I said I would put one in of Caroline Levitt. He is brilliant. Yeah, the callousness and the blame that Trumpster Fire keeps saying he's not going to lay blame on Biden. He says that while he's laying blame on Biden. I think he said something to the effect of a lot of links in the chain of disaster response were broken during the Biden administration. But I'm not going to lay the blame on Biden. I mean, That's called talking out of both sides of your mouth, right? Um, so yeah, the quick response, rapid response team. That's the rapid response team is the specific article that Kristi Noem made a new rule not that long ago that she had to personally approve any kind of rapid response, which, first of all, she did not approve it rapidly. In her rule changing, she gave herself 5 days, that she can take 5 days for a rapid response approval. Holy crap. Like, why would you even do that? And what else? I think I pretty much hit the rest of it. But yeah, I was stunned to learn that last month 10 people passed away in San Antonio in a flood. Like, I didn't hear anything about that. Oh, I didn't tell you the name of the account that edited the surveillance video footage from the federal prison where little E was found deceased. It was edited by a window account called MJCOLE-1, MJ Cole-1, and it was edited on May 23rd. So interesting. I wonder what else was going on May 23rd, looking at what Patel and Bongino and Levitt, Trumpster Fire, Bondi, Keg's Breath. Like, what were they all doing on and around May 23rd when MJ Cole-1 was editing that piece of surveillance? Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Usually I find something on here that I'm like, oh, I forgot to say that. But yeah, I did forget to say that even the name of the Windows account and the date that they edited it has been discovered. So yeah, I hope they can trace back. Oh, this is going to be good. They will. They'll trace back who exactly MJ Cole-1 is. Maybe it's a Doge person. Maybe. I don't know. I can't watch videos of people who believe that Brian Koberger is guilty. I just wanted to throw that out there. I appreciate that, Anna Bees. I really can't either, because it's just like so simple. It's like you have to be so simple in your mind, in my opinion, to just take that hook, line, and sinker. And then even just like looking at the photographs of him that have been so manipulated, that one of him in the bathroom with the pencil neck buttoned all the way up, smiling, with the super black hair and the super pasty skin and the super long nose and the weird background. Like, that's obviously a photoshopped picture. And yeah, he looks nauseating in it. But I've seen other pictures of him so similar to that, where they made his nose longer, they made him paler, and they made his hair darker. I think it's that picture that I was looking at yesterday, and like they have like black drawing in his eyebrows, unless he did that with a eyebrow pencil. It's crazy. I'm going to put a screenshot of that on a community post later today so that you can see what I'm talking about. Because I was just like, wait a second, what? I think that it might not be the one in the bathroom. It might be one that reminds me of the one in the bathroom more than anything else, because it has that same like swishy background and the very pale and this super, super bushy eyebrows and the super long, creepy nose. And then you look at the pictures of him from like during the time of his pleading guilty a few days ago, and it looks like his eyebrows were freaking waxed. Like, I mean, like gone. It looks like they're shaved. It's bizarre. You know, some people have said lightened or something. I mean, you know, it's just weird. It's so weird. I hope they can trace everything back. That really they really manipulated many pictures of him, and they haven't released that many pictures of him. You know, there's probably no more than 20 photographs out of Koberger, I would bet you, if I tried to count up every single one of them. And yeah, the ones like I think one of the best ones of him, not that I'm a pro burger or fangirl or whatever. It's the one where he has a pencil and a pad and he's like writing. And the story behind it was that he was working on a school project with somebody in college, I think, and they were lab partners. And he wanted the guy to take the picture. And he just looks, you know, like a nice person. And he looks like he's got a mission, basically, you know, because we all do better when we are on a mission, when we have a purpose or when we have a sense of purpose. When we feel like we're just free falling is when we suffer anxiety. That's usually when people are self injurious, using substances. It's important to have structure. It's important to feel like you have a purpose and a meaning. And, you know, I think it's why people like to point and people like pictures of themselves when they're pointing, you know, like I think we have a president who's like that. Next. You know, even in his little video with Epstein, he does that when he's laughing and talking and doing that, like the sexy lip biting thing. And then he's talking to the guy on the right of him, and Epstein's on the left, and he's talking about this, and then he points to Epstein like that. That man loves his pointer finger. He's like a freaking toddler. But again, when we point, it makes us feel like we have purpose. We're on a mission. We know what we want. And yeah, we all need to feel like we have purpose and intention and meaning in our lives. Without it, things go sideways. And I think that's one of the reasons why some people do so well when they're in a crisis situation, like the first responders, because you know you're just very task oriented when you're in a situation like that, like on a search and recovery mission. And it's when you're sitting still, when you don't have the focus, when you don't have a point and a purpose, that your anxiety can be very overwhelming. And for people going through a grieving process, that task oriented, like goal oriented type of behavior can be very helpful and healing. So I think it's why a lot of us like projects. Like, as much as I didn't want to have to move all the stuff from that room into this room, once I got into it, I have fun with it. I love it. It was very overwhelming though when I started. I started with the chakra tower last night. I was like, okay, I'll just move the chakra tower and that's it. But I know myself. I figured if I started with that I probably would just get rolling with all of it. So anyway, I'm excited to be in my new space, and I'll continue to iron out some of the details. I appreciate you guys being here, and please share my videos. I don't want my channel to get rubbed out by the powers that be, and I don't understand. Well, I guess I do. Like I said, I take it as a compliment. If they're trying to shut me down, why would they be trying to shut me down if I was just, you know, wasting my time and everybody else's, right? I like your new background. I love it. You know, like I said, I always try to turn the lemons into lemonade. And I thought, when I moved out of this space last year, knowing that I'd probably be moving back into the space this year, and moving from one room to another is about as stressful as moving into a different place. I hate moving. I've done it way too many times. But with all the kids growing and moving out, I find myself having to move within my own house a bunch. And yeah, I just try to make the most of it and turn it into something better. So I'm excited. I'm excited to like reboot my channel, especially after the threat of it being rubbed out yesterday. Holy crap. Maybe it was just a hiccup in the system. Maybe there's nothing to it. It was just a thing. All right. Love and light. You guys have a great evening. It is Friday. I will try to do a live over the weekend. And then, I try really hard to do every day, but I also try to take a day off here and there. So we'll see. 6 days a week is pretty good. That works for me if it works for you. Take care, and let's keep praying for the people in Texas. And I hope that everybody's loved ones are recovered so that they can lay them to rest. Peace out. Thanks again for watching. Take care.